And welcome back, everyone. So now we have Steyn, one of the recent speakers to have spoken. It is still day 2. We're kind of getting closer towards the end of the day. But it's good to have you. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you, Alfie. Appreciate it.
So I guess firstly, what were you sharing with everyone today?
So I was sharing this idea of being an optimist.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the 3 main points about being an optimist is that problems are inevitable. And they always will be. They're necessary because we need them for progress. The second point, I guess, is around all problems are soluble, with this caveat, as long as they adhere to the laws of physics. And then the last point is we can solve these problems because we can build the necessary knowledge to do that. So as human species, we have this ability to create knowledge and solve problems. So that's essentially the 3 core points of the optimist.
Yeah.
And how do you apply that to, general life, at your job, in society, and, as we design things.
Amazing. That sounds very interesting. So there's just one thing that I'd maybe like you to elaborate on a little bit. The second point you said, all problems are soluble as long as they adhere to the laws of physics.
Yeah.
What do you mean by soluble?
So all problems can be solved. So
okay.
Whatever problem you see, that problem can be solved. As long as they kind of live in this space of the laws of nature.
Okay.
You can't defy the laws of nature.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's and I think it is good. It's an important thing to talk about because it's sometimes it can seem a little bit abstract to tell people the value of being an optimist, but it actually has tangible outcomes. And it changes your mindset in some ways. And maybe that's something that I don't know if you want to expand on a little bit. Like, what results, if you could put it that way, have you gotten from this idea of being an optimist?
Yeah, so what is the impact of the problem on our lives? When we encounter a problem, whether that's a conflicting situation with someone at work or an actual design problem, how does that make us feel? What is the impact? Now, sometimes it makes us feel demotivated or disconnected. But with a worldview that problems are soluble, can be solved, we can find the necessary kind of solutions to solve this problem.
Yeah.
We can find, the drive to solve these problems. We can get through, these negative emotions.
Okay, that's amazing. And I think it is good to know because it's easy to sort of push mindset to the side and think that it's not a tangible aspect, but especially, and maybe I'm a little bit biased because I feel like I am an optimist, but it can be useful. Granted, I think there is also like the flip side to being an optimist. When you are an optimist, you maybe tend to take chances that are not always in your best interest, but I guess it's part of the process of solving those problems. So maybe tell me a little bit about like when you aren't speaking at conferences and impressing everybody with your knowledge. What do you do?
Well, for starters, I herd kids.
Okay, that is a full-time job.
So I've got a family. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Nice.
And besides just being a dad, I do gardening. I write about things. I spend time with my family, things like that. So there's that bit, and then in terms of work-wise, I assume that's what you also. So I'm one of the lead product designers at Luno, which is a cryptocurrency wallet. And the goal, the mission is to put crypto in everyone's hands, which is an enormously big problem.
Yeah.
Like everyone.
Everyone is a lot.
Everyone is you. Everyone is that person. Everyone is, the person in the big mansion, the person, wherever else. So that's everyone. Like, how do we do that? That's a massive problem.
Yeah.
So specifically at Luno, I'm part of the customer-facing security, which comes down to making sure that your money stays safe. And so I've been at Luno for about 4 years and worked on various kinds of parts of the business. But right now I'm customer-facing security.
Amazing. There's something that's kind of interesting about not the space you're in, but I don't think it's not necessarily unique to to Luno. When you're working with like cutting edge tech now, I mean, like cryptocurrency has been around for quite a while, but in some senses, it's still pretty cutting edge in comparison, for example, to the banks, the telcos, the insurance companies. How have you found dealing with, like, in some ways, a new conceptual landscape? Like, do you find that it's been challenging, different? Yeah. What's been your experience so far?
Challenging is a good word. Mm-hmm. Challenging because you have all of these layers that people bring to investing their money. Mm-hmm. There's trust, there's distrust, there is, complexity of how to navigate a product, which is maybe the easier part. I think the hardest part is probably, getting through my beliefs about crypto. It's a scam, or, it's, I can't afford it, I can't afford Bitcoin. So I would say that the hardest part about, the space that we're working in is to, create a new narrative around crypto. Like, crypto is for everyone.
Yeah.
And it helps if you can play the long game. Mm-hmm. If you don't, just see it as I want to get rich quickly. If I see it as, this is something for my future, something for my kids' future, then your strategy changes and you look different at it. So there's a bit about that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And I have to say, so I mean, I've got a Luno account that I've put away a little bit of money.
Cool.
Into it. One of the things that really struck me about using it is it feels like a lot of the same feelings you get from a bank, you get from Luno.
Yeah.
Except there's nothing in between you and your account.
Yeah.
It's sort of like you can just decide to sign up and create an account and deposit money immediately without any engaging with other things, having to, you do need to send your documents, but you can do it with your phone.
Yeah.
And it's like your understanding of what it means to invest or what it means to transact changes when there aren't any barriers like that. Yeah. And I found that to be quite interesting.
Yeah. So I guess there's a digital or a technology aspect to that. And any company, whether you're a crypto company or not, can have that efficiency or that ease of use. Everything is digital. There are many insurance companies that are like new insurance, like a Naked or a Pineapple
and so on.
Mm-hmm. So they have that same experience. There's another layer to this, which is around, the money is yours.
Yes.
So given that and there's different strategies what Luno does and crypto exchanges and wallets is create an easy on-ramp for you to go from fiat, which is your government-issued currency, to cryptocurrency. So that's kind of the role that they play. So if you keep your money on the exchange or the wallet, then you don't have full control over that. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. For many people, that's good, including myself and, most other people.
The everyday.
There is a part of this which is quite amazing, I think, and that is that you could move that to a hardware wallet where you're in control of that money. Like, no one can do anything with it. Like, if wallet X just shuts down, like, for example, FTX is a good example. FTX, number 2 exchange in the world. Yesterday, massive bank run, people can't get their money out. Okay?
Really?
Yes. So that's a classic example of not your keys, not your coins. Now, I think individuals need to decide, like, whether they trust the exchange or the wallet provider or not. But I guess the point that I want to make is that there is this layer of, I own my money versus a centralized organization owns it, which is, I think, quite beautiful in itself.
Yeah, the potential is pretty like, I think it requires a mindset change. Yeah. Because the other thing for me that was also very interesting about using Luno was not thinking about currency the way I usually think about it. Because in some ways, up until now, the way we've thought about currency is in some ways a representation of the country that currency is found. Yeah. But now suddenly you've got currencies that are not pegged to a country. It's just sort of a currency out there.
Exactly.
And
there's less manipulation.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So
very true.
If we look at
you're not at the mercy of the governments.
Exactly. And we've seen that in Venezuela, Zimbabwe,
True.
And we're seeing it now playing out in many other
countries, especially post-COVID. Like, there's so much economic turmoil that a lot of countries are having to do short-term thinking to actually resolve the issues at hand.
Yeah.
And then maybe one other thing that I like to do in the show is to get to know a little bit more of the origin story. Like, what is the background and how did you get into this space? Just especially because, and one of the things we're trying to do with this podcast is give people coming up into the industry, the generations following us, an idea of, because it's easy to see somebody either on TV or in this big company, and to see them there and believe that it's too far out of your reach.
Yeah.
But essentially, all of our stories are just like, stumbling around until we find a place that sort of fits us. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you entered this space.
Okay. So I started out as a geologist.
Okay, I was not expecting that.
Oh, no, I'm sure you didn't. So I couldn't see myself digging rocks for the rest of my life. So I shifted gears, and I'm not going to tell the whole story now, but I ended up landing in startup world as a designer.
Yeah.
And that was 14 years ago. And that's kind of where my UX design journey started. Before that, I was introduced to more filming type of things, like 3D modeling, animation, motion graphics, those kind of things. So I had a bit of that as a background. But once I got into startups, that's kind of where I learned the bulk of what I know today. I think what's contributed towards who I am today is probably the people that I've worked with. I can single out a couple of people that has had an enormous impact on my life. And, maybe I was just fortunate enough to work with some of these really smart people, and then they helped shape my view of the world and so on. And then also just various companies that I've worked for. Like I'm really fortunate to work for Luno.
Yeah.
And it has given me exposure to so many different things, including like how do you design within a scale-up? How do you design in a company that goes from 150 people to 1,000 plus people in, maybe a year or two?
Yeah.
Like those are different types of things that you learn. And few companies go through that type of scale.
Yeah.
So I had, the startup experiences where the challenges and problems look different, and they help shape who I am today. And then Luno for the past 4 years as in a scale-up where the problems also look very different again.
Okay, that's amazing, and I think it's always good to hear a little bit of how people get to where they are.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, it's hard to put a connection between where they started and where they are today. And maybe there's a geologist out there who will sort of hear your story, get inspired, and join us UXers.
Completely.
But I'm super grateful for you coming to chat with us and sharing a little bit of your background. Thank you, and
Great.
well done on your talk.
Thank you so much, Alfie. Appreciate it.
And have a good one further. And to everyone listening, cheers.